already started organizations, they're working with youth, they're working with
some Indian
education.
organization 지금 address that 도움도 하자라 지금 줘야지. 어제 뒤에 지금 저 자는 이집이 지금 가서 연락 쏘고 시우지 개체 버리셔.
Yep.
나 대변 상담한 거야. 근데 또 전에 양 자나를 뚱야기 뚱과 인도산에 현단 저월 투쇼 침비나 다들 인식 작업한다. 是吧? 아는 가서디 철수기에서 말해. 가다 밀 팸버치 차시게 시험하러다. 디전에 쇼로 거로지 취비나 자나는 저와 영이 물어봤다. 是吧? 자나는 요원 누구야래. 근데 철수 장장 상물 철수다 변조 장장 상당하네. 양지 자나 개심 싶지 양 현다 도스 수요를 쉐비나 그렇지는 yes.
So many of these youth leaders have already made the commitment to be a peace builder, to take action, to start organizations, to start that process of working with youth younger than themselves. And, you know, being a leader in a tough environment is very challenging. And I think all of them have the burdens and the questions of leadership, of how to be the leader they strive to be. So I'd like to ask a number of our youth leaders who I know are thinking about those questions. And David, if you could get us started.
Your Holiness, first of all, you remind me my grandmother. And, and
you remind him of his grandmother.
First of all, you remind me my grandmother, and it makes me happy, and she's my inspiration, and I feel like in a family. So I work for peace in my country, and I work in education. And we have a lot of problems of gangs and narco traffic and guerrilla, and some young people spread this problem, you know. So you have a lot of knowledge about how can be the education in order to change the world. We need more Dalai Lamas in each country, like little Dalai Lamas. So what is your advice in order to obtain this kind of leadership and in order to not repeat our violent history, for example, in our country and many countries like this?
I could ask, Cinderella also works with youth.
My name is Cinderella, coming from Damascus, Syria, the most affected country by terrorism and conflict. As you may know, since 2011, an armed conflict started in Syria, turning it into a playground years later, for international powers to fight on. One of the dimensions of the Syrian conflict is that we have internal displacement, refugees abroad, and it increased the social, economic dimensions among people. And it seems that every Syrian family has been terribly affected by the conflict, including my family. Now I have my parents back in Damascus, and I have my siblings in Germany. What I'm really interested about, Your Holiness, is what was your greatest challenge when you had to flee away from the Tibet in 1959, and how you could overcome these challenges, getting your community members together in a way that perceived your culture, heritage, and history as we see it now, obvious in Dharamsala?
Adang?
Good afternoon, Your Holiness. I'm Adeng from South Sudan.
Not afternoon.
It's still morning?
Oh,
Yes.
Good morning. I'm a journalist and a peace activist from South Sudan. And I have two questions for you. One, it's about my role as a young peace activist in South Sudan, and the other one is about your own experience. During our stay in Dharamsala, we visited the TCV, the children's school here, and we had a chance to interact with the girls in the school. And we asked them one question, which was, who is your role model, or who is someone that you look up to? And without a minute to think, they didn't take a minute. They immediately said the Dalai Lama. And I took also a minute to think, if I ask the same question back at home to our youth in South Sudan, do they really have a leader that is a role model, someone that they look up to? Because in the moment that we are gathered here as youth who are working for peace, there are also youth of our age back at home who are killing each other, who are incited by their own leaders, who are supposed to be the role models, to kill each other, to kill people based on their tribe or any differences. What do you think we as youth who are working in peace could do to change the behaviors of those youth, given the fact that the youth in my country are the majority of the population, yet all of them, or most of them, are the majority that are not educated. And because of that ignorance, they are simply and easily dragged into tribal war by their leaders or their community or traditional leaders. So how can we as youth change their behaviors and their negative way of thinking? And another question back to you as well. Have you ever faced any kind of differences or challenges with the Tibetan people living here in India? And if any, how do you normally resolve those differences? How do you keep them united?
And Iman is also, can you pass her that? Thank you. Yeah. Yeah.
Yes.
Good morning. I'm Imen from Tunisia. I insist.
Now you are practicing also mindfulness. Mindfulness.
We lost sense of time, really. Okay. I'm coming from a very nice and peaceful country, Tunisia. Yet, after the revolution of 2011, many social problems showed up. I'm coming from the south. I live in a southern area called Gafsa. The main problem that happened after the revolution is tribalism. My region became divided by tribalism. We have the same religion, we are the same family. We have the same language and everything, but yet we are divided. This from the tribe X and this tribe Y. As youth in my organization, we're trying hard to shrink those differences and to contribute to solve problems between them. And we find the best solution is to train youth, because they are the next generation, to bring them together, to help them be together and make dialogue. This is how we see that it's the perfect way to cancel all the boundaries between them. My question to you, Mr. Dalai Lama, is does the institution of the Dalai Lama here organize any trainings for youth to make them build peace around the world, or in such programs? Thank you.
Firstly, when we become refugee, I think fortunately the relation with India, I think over 2,000 years, very special connection. I think one example, the text which I already mentioned, you see, from young age I study. You see, these texts, you see, it's a part of 300 volumes which translated from India. So since our childhood, you see, we study these texts, all translated from, most of them, except I think around 10 volumes. Because this is what Jimmy? 개인의 주르디. 또요 그제는. 가. Then except 5-6 volumes which translated from Chinese. Otherwise, all 300 volumes, more than 300 volumes, all translated from India. So emotionally also is very close with this country. And then geographically, Tibet very important to this country. So therefore, when we reach India, the political map, India, foreign country, but spiritually very close, like that. And then our sort of first or initial our effort is education. Those young Tibetan should get modern education. Modern education plus our own language, our own traditional education. Therefore, I asked Indian government, we need separate Tibetan school. So government of India agree, fully support. So the younger generation, Tibetan refugee, and then later from Tibet also, number, I think few thousand is to join. So I feel that's the key factor. Then I think entire Tibetan refugee community, I think illiteracy, illiterate, I think very few. The younger, except some old people, but otherwise the new generation, all some form of education, like that. Then, as I mentioned, they study including the Tibetan and Tibetan, I think, our knowledge. In early 60s, the teacher in this Tibetan school, good scholar, including this person, Professor Dharamsala. So at that time, in our school, used the dialectic debate, like that. Then sometime, some years, neglected about that because of no proper teacher, just teacher grammar or this like this. So some sort of shortcomings. Meantime, 1959, after my escape, at least a few thousand monk students also come. So we asked Indian government, they should let them study continuously. So we asked Indian government, separate sort of the place they can study. So usually also the Buddhist logic, Buddhist philosophy, and Buddhist religion, in order to study this, at least you need 20 years study. So our sort of study, quite difficult. The root text, which we call root text, learned by heart, memorize. That picture, this morning you see, show the picture. Also, you see, then start to memorizing with great reluctance. Yes, I admit it. Then each word explain. Then use extensively logic. The logical approach, we raise the opposite view, then debate, then try to prove, you see, your view is right, and try to defeat other one. So in some extent, to
a certain extent, we are actually training these students to develop hate and, passion, attachment.
Some kind of, how to say, you see, when we start debate, you see, the only sort of motivation is how to defeat that. So then, when good scholar, and you debate, and then if you can defeat that, you feel very proud. So sometimes you see heated debate really create anger. There are some stories, you see, in debate courtyard, you see, carrying debate, and then become very heated sort of debate. Then sometimes lose anger, and then use some stone. So we very much sort of today concern how to preserve, you see, this actually Nalanda tradition from India. So at that time, our main concern is how to preserve, including our language and this knowledge. Then 1973, my first visit Europe, several countries in Europe. Then 79, Soviet Union, then America. Then I gradually realized, and also you see, I think as a result of meeting with scientists, then gradually I realized, the knowledge which we preserve, traditionally come from India, which we preserve, that's now something relevant to today's world. And we can share some of this knowledge to modern people, particularly including scientists, like that. So, among Tibetan younger generation also, in early 60s, you see, among young Tibetan, you see very, very few who carry rosary. And some young Tibetan, even you see they introduce themselves as a Tibetan, feel shy. Then gradually, you see, even non-Tibetan from Nepal, you see, they introduce themselves as a Tibetan, because you see, more and more people now very, very sort of friendly attitude towards Tibetan, like that. So one occasion in New York, one Tibetan restaurant, you see, owned by one Tibetan. He usually, you see, give free meal to monk. So one day, some monk come, monk dress come, and he, then you see, he refused take, what's it, because of money. I usually give free. Then those people who wear monk's dress, they're also quite honest. They say, we are not monk, but just to wear monk's dress. So then, sometime back in Europe, when you see Tibetan monk come, then usually you see people, look, oh, strange, there is a stranger. Then gradually, you see people in Europe, usually you see when a Tibetan monk come, then Dalai Lama's man. So like that, I think the key point is we pay more attention for study, for education, combination, modern education and our own traditional education, like that. That's the best way for preservation of our own culture, our own identity. I notice some Latin American people, they're very much concerned preservation of their own culture. So because of that, they prefer remain distant from modern society. I asked them, I told them, this is wrong. You must, the proper way of preservation is through modern education, carry work for preservation. Like Sami land people, the modern education, thoroughly educated, and their language, they speak, through Norway, I visited some Sami land in Norway. So they have their own parliament. So they dress their own sort of traditional dress, but thoroughly educated through Norwegian language. Meantime, they keep their Sami land language, like that. That's the right way. We also now carrying that way, thorough modern education, and meantime, preservation of our own culture, our own language, like that. So main thing is education. And then wider sort of contact in this country, in India, you see, as I mentioned when we have tea, I mentioned since 1975, I adopted one method to group people, the pilgrimage in different places, like that. So that really, you see, because of gain experience, you see, visit or pilgrimage at different holy places and silent meditation. So I also usually get some kind of sort of special feeling, some mosque, Jama Masjid, and then also Djibouti, and Kasa. Oh, Tanga Chimdu, the Indian Sondo Yavale. Lamati, Kaja Lamati. Ajmer. Oh, like that. I visited, you see, this area as a pilgrimage, and when I enter mosque, you see their kasa, their head, and some kasa, you should kasati, Djibouti kasa, but Djibouti kasa, Senegal, and Jewish to the small head. Go like that. I feel very happy. And like that. So I really, you see, enjoy, visit, you see, different holy places. And with that spirit, this morning also I mentioned Jerusalem, like that. So at that time, some Hindus with me, some Muslims also with me, and some Christian also with me, like that. So the promotion of religious harmony, we have to also make an effort, not just talk.
And you spoke this morning as well about...
Oh, then you mentioned Dalai Lama. Someone you mentioned one Dalai Lama or something. No, what is Oh, you.
David.
Oh. So I truly hope and believe each of you should act like Dalai Lama. So go back your own country You see, if you agree, you should carry my spirit. My wisdom, little difficult. you need a lot of time to study. But Dalai Lama's spirit you can easily carry. Okay. So, so from one Dalai Lama, at least produce 25 Dalai Lamas.
Yeah.
So then each your country, you can spread 1,000 or at least by one each. You can create 10 Dalai Lamas. Then each another 1,000 Dalai Lama, 100,000 Dalai Lama, like that.
This is 7 billion. This is the right charge. So, Your Holiness, I want to ask, there are 4 youth leaders who still would like an opportunity. So I'd like to start by asking Ahmed if you could just quickly...
Now I can say good afternoon, Your Holiness.
No, still morning.
Oh, really? Good morning. Afternoon in advance. I come from Nigeria. My name is Ahmed Bolori. And Nigeria right now is going through a lot of difficulties and is bedeviled by a lot of challenges. In northern Nigeria, northeast specifically, we face Boko Haram terrorism, a terrorist organization that was established in 2000. It started its violent activities in 2009. And when it started in 2009, the members of the organization were very little in number when they started in 2009. And so also in the same vein, in other parts of the country, there are lots of other smaller conflict organizations. So like the Boko Haram organization, the terrorist organization that is linked with Al-Qaeda and ISIS, they started with a number of less than 1,000 fighters. But the government started to intervene militarily by beginning to kill them. In 2009, there were less than 1,000. But over time, they keep increasing. Government kills them, but they increase to recruit more people. Yes. And as young people, we keep insisting as young leaders so that the government will take soft measures. Like you said yesterday and today, you said non-violent resolution of conflict is more important. But then how then can we as young people continue to do this? How can we act on this? Because in Nigeria, over 60% of the population are young people. So how can we change this? And you had in Al Jazeera, when they posted my question, that when I started to talk to government to engage them in non-violence, they declared me wanted, just like they called you evil with horn. So, Your Holiness, how can we as young people promote this? How can we do this? We are not government, we don't have power, but how best can we do this?
Of course, that's very difficult to ask. But you see, recently I was in Sicily, and one part of Sicily, the mayor of that area, he Gandhian. In his own office is one Gandhi picture there. And he is very much so dedicated to non-violence. And, oh, I don't know. I can't remember. So then they received a lot of refugees from Libya. They consider those Libyan refugees as their own people. Very good sort of attitude, very good relation. So then I told them, now you should find ways or means to reach some hardliner in Libya through these Libyan refugees. Among the refugees, there may be some sort of influential, or I don't know, who can conduct some of these hardliner. Then, 그리고 September 11th. Didn't look about it. 2001. The destruction in New York, and also, in some extent, in Washington. Then President was President Bush. So I know him very well. On human level, I really love him. So once we met, we immediately become close friend. The simple reason, when sort of tea serve and some cookie come, then I just express, oh, what cookie is better? Then he immediately say, oh, this one. Oh, very good. He acts like human being. Sometimes you see, some other president of America, so when we first met, very formal. Frankly speaking, President Clinton, first meeting, little bit distance. Then second meeting, closer. Third meeting, closer. Then eventually become very close. So later I told him, our meeting, first, very distance. Then second, closer. I told him, he laughed. President Bush, not like that. Right from the beginning, we become very close. However, after the Iraq crisis happened, and another occasion, my meeting with President Bush, then I told him, I love you, I respect you, but some of your policies concerned, I have great reservation. And he laughed. So at that time, September 11th, that tragedy happened. Then 12th, I wrote a letter to President Bush. While I expressed my condolence or prayer, I also mentioned I hope that this problem should handle by non-violent way. Then gradually Iraq crisis happened. I think that's greatest mistake. So then whole Arab world, Muslim world, some kind of sort of wrong impression. And then meantime, also you see some writers express some clash, Muslim, but Islam and Western democracy. Such sort of expression is really dangerous. No. So in Arab world, I have some friend in Arab world. So you see, after that event, Iraq crisis happened. The many Muslim feel something negative. So now even today, now these Kasa hardliner Muslim, IS, you see, so the former president of France, and also some kind of pledge to crush with force these ISIS. And then American government also is in that kind of attitude. How can this violence start from here? Emotion. You see, using more sort of violence or use force, this hardened. So in Sicily, I really felt some of these very honest, nice people, I think should try to some way to reach these hardliner. And Bin Laden at that time, I expressed unless you handle this problem, today 1 Bin Laden, after a few years 10 Bin Laden, then gradually 100 Bin Laden may come. So it exactly happened. So this is, as I mentioned yesterday, in leaders' mind, still the old way of thinking, crush your enemy once for all, that kind of old thinking. Now today's world, completely different. So therefore, now we have to sort of make effort through non-violent way, firstly, and secondly, you see, reach out those troublemakers and make friendship, make friend. and cool down their fear, their anger. That's the only way.
Thank you, Your
So
Holiness.
eventually, if you can, as one American lady, if you can, our next meeting, some kasa IS person, I will welcome them. If you find okay, like that.
Oh boy, you give us big challenges, Your Holiness. Can I ask our two final youth leaders, Lourdes and then Jonathan?
Your Holiness? Sure. All right, my name is Lourdes. I'm from Mesopotamia, Iraq, Kurdistan. And it's always a conflict to say my country. Everyone says one word to describe their country except for me, because I am all of them, but at the same time, none of them. Now let me leave the conflict of identity that I have, and I tell you that today I'm here and it's a miracle. This might sound a bit strange, but when I was born, my mom was in the hospital and they told her that I was dead. I was declared dead, and everyone lost hope. My parents were very sad. And then out of the sudden comes one nurse. She slaps me a couple of times, and my parents hear me crying. She brought me back to life with one slap.
Why?
Because I was dead when I was born. I was.
Oh, then good motivation. Okay.
Now, when I ask my parents and I'm like, why out of all those kids, I was back to life, I survived, they tell me it's a miracle. And I continue saying it's a miracle. But from then, the challenges started. I could see that this was not the only challenge. And I could see my people in Kurdistan and Iraq. I am an ethnic minority and a religious minority. I am Chaldean, Assyrian, Syriac, and also I am Christian Catholic. We are less than 1% in Iraq. Now, I saw my people getting their identity vanished. I could see my people lose hope because they were told they either have to change their religion, they either have to pay for survival, or they will be killed. And their houses were marked by a letter, so they can be separated from other people, and they could tell that this is a Christian house. Now, those are challenges, and they're hard for me as a young person. And I'm representing, yes, less than 1%, but we're a lot. A lot of people are here with this traditional outfit. Being here with so many minorities of Iraq, including Yazidis and including Yarsanis. My question to you is, do you think that as young leaders, we can slap Iraq back to life and slap all of those minorities and Mesopotamia and Kurdistan back to life with our peace building? And what is your advice for us?
The simple answer, if you have conviction, defeat Iraq, then do that. That's very difficult.
And a related question is from Jonathan.
His Holiness, thank you very much for the opportunity, USIP, to bring us here. Yes, we spoke so many things about conflict, about our countries. So I think I'm from Sri Lanka, and I'm Jonathan Vijay Singh. So you know about Sri Lanka situation, which was like 30 years, what happened. So I'm not going to talk about that. So I just need to bring something from you to Sri Lanka. That is always in your videos and also like in present now, I can see always you're smiling. You're smiling, and how you express your feelings and how you communicate with others, it's really different. And it's really, we can really feel you. I mean, even though it's a really tough, conversation, even though it's a simple conversation, your feelings makes us feel you. So please tell me how you smile. I mean, how you do this to us, because I have my own organization called Seeds. So my hope is to see every kid, every child smiling and happy. Thank you.
Sri Lanka, geographically, very close with India, India's neighbor. So actually, I think 1960, maybe 60 or 70s, although we already planned with help of Indian government, visit Sri Lanka. Basically, Sri Lanka, Buddhist country. It's a Buddhist teeth or something, or Buddhist teeth. So everything finalized with the help of Minister of External Affairs of India. Then the last minute, then Mrs. Bandaranaike or something, Prime Minister. So because of Chinese pressure, then cancelled. So I, very, very eager, very close in my mind, Sri Lanka. And then the Tamil, South Indian, Tamil Nadu, very close in my mind. And then Buddhist, of course, I am Buddhist, naturally very close. So some sort of difficulties or conflict between, because of the Tamil Nadu, Sinhalese and Tamil. Very sad, very sad. All these, you see, due to some politicians, mainly their power. Actually, you see, many cases, you see, the leaders, politicians, they simply concern their own small world, finally their own family and power. Never consider, you see, bigger family. That's a source of problem. And Iraq, these problems. Should think, no matter what races, what community, but same people, same area, the future of this area depend on these different community. So, the basis of future happy, successful, because of the Arab, you see, entirely depend on these different people. So leaders never thinking in this line. Now, for example, we Tibetan, many Tibetans complain about our way of approach, not seeking independence. So some criticize us. But we are thinking, whether we like it or not, we have to live side by side. So, if we have equal sort of right, unfortunate, because of opportunity, then the political sort of sovereignty or these things are not important. So as I mentioned yesterday, eventually I think we should create a world government or world community, one community. So you see, your case also, is one way to look the Kurdish people, Kurdish or divided Turkey and Iraq, in Syria. You have some right to create new nation. That I think those concerned government or concerned country are never allowed. So now better think according to reality. See, we traditionally independent country, so we want independence. I think economically, independent Tibet, economically poor. I usually is telling Tibetan, number of Tibetan illegally immigrated to America, to Europe, like especially Belgium, more easier reach there. So these Tibetan not seeking spirituality and go to America, but seeking dollar. So you see, they also want material material value. So then, remain within the People's Republic of China. Materially, we get immense benefit. Then our concern is our language and rich Tibetan cultural heritage. Actually, immense help. Overall People's Republic University cultural heritage. And furthermore, in China now, biggest Buddhist population now today, like that. So we are thinking more realistic, more broad thinking. And then the political independence, not much important. The important is the preservation of your own culture, your own identity. So the recent, Spain, Catalonia. Of course, this is not my business, but I feel unnecessary. Catalonia, some unique things. They already have autonomy. Then in Italy also, you see, there are different sort of autonomous region. And France, so each sort of city, community want independence. Then I think today about 200 nations. Now eventually 300 nations, and 100 nations fighting each other. No use. So Syria or this area should think, civil war in Syria. I think if the Syrian president, Assad or something, mainly his own sort of power, and then crush those people who a little bit sort of disagree his leadership, and then these things happen, then totally immoral. But fight with some different religious faith. There's some sort of reasons, but then individual person's power. As I mentioned, I think yesterday or this morning, Mugabe, in order to keep his own power, his young lady, the nonsense, old thinking. See, I think some of these leaders, they are thinking very narrow-minded, very foolish. And individuals remain foolish, okay. But leader, that thinking that way is really create a lot of problem.
It's not a leader.
Huh?
It's not a leader.
What?
It's not a leader.
That's right. Leader should bring peace, because peace is the basis of happiness, successful. Without peace, you have to pay more attention to weapon and spend a lot of money, wasted your money. And America, also, I think, I really sort of admire America as a nation of the leading nation of free world. So now America, in a way, producer of a weapon. America should be producer of democracy, liberty, freedom. Of course, I have no right to criticize.
But you can encourage.
Oh. Frankly speaking, when President Trump, his express America first, I feel uncomfortable. America, as a leading nation of free world, should think global issue. And America, no matter how powerful, but still part of the world. America needs Europe. Europe needs America. Should think as a one family. America first, I feel. Then finally, his own company is first. And his own family. That's difficult. That's difficult, isn't it? Like that.
We have about 5 minutes before the lunch, so
During lunchtime also, we sit here and can talk.
Yeah, and maybe during lunch, you can hear from Victoria, who was here with us last year. We have time now? Okay, so you've challenged everybody. You've given us a lot to think about. You've asked everybody to go be a Dalai Lama in their community. Victoria was here with us last year. And Victoria, if you could just say a quick couple of words about the impact that this dialogue had on you when you joined it a year and a half ago.
Your Holiness, thank you so much for encouraging all the youth leaders present here today, including myself. It was a huge privilege to have been part of the first pilot of the Youth Exchange Program, and it changed my life a lot. You really emphasized on education and making education more holistic, which I feel is exactly what we need to make our world more peaceful and tolerable for all. And when I returned home, I thought about what I could do from all the lessons that I've gotten from you to impact on my own little community. And we started a teacher's training. We started a teacher's training. We started working with teachers.
Teacher.
Yes.
Right.
We started working with teachers in Nigeria, teaching them on education for sustainable development. Because in Nigeria, the teaching profession is not very much celebrated, and teachers make a lot of impact in the life of children. So we started teaching, educating teachers to become better at what they do, but also to build them with professional skills, like teaching them about how they can introduce topics such as emotional intelligence into the classroom, how they can make their students have inner peace, because last year you really emphasized on inner peace, and that is very, very important. So through emotional intelligence and through topics like peace building and conflict resolution, non-violent resolution skills, we can really transform the world. And a lot of what I have learned last year has really, really influenced the work that we are doing in Nigeria right now. And even though I am one out of about 28 youth leaders who participated last year, in my community, we've really been able to empower up to 200 teachers who have the power to reach out to up to 5,000 children. I really want to appreciate you for the strong impact that you've made in my life and in the life of other young leaders who were part of the exchange last year. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Your Holiness.
I'm I want to know more about this in some Nigeria area. What do you call some children? Witchcraft. They have some children, some kind of connection with witch or something. So abandon and remain bush. So I heard the BBC, this is one sort of the program. I heard one Netherlands, one Danish family. She sold his own sort of house in Denmark, and then settled in Nigeria and look after such children. When I heard that, I feel something very moving. So I try to find the address, and then communicate that family, and also I made some donation. Fortunately, recently I met her. She came to see me. So I'm wondering more detailed information. What kind of belief, which is something, and some connection these children with which doctors, which witchcraft, and then completely abandoned. What is the sort of belief?
Yes, in some very low-income communities like rural areas and villages, we still have old practices, old cultural practices, and maybe some kids, maybe if they are born a certain way, they believe that perhaps they are witches or wizards or what have you. Or sometimes because of their culture and religion, sometimes they consult the oracle, and the oracle may probably tell them that this child is a witch, and some of these kids are abandoned, or even mutilated. They could even cut, part of their body parts, believing that they are cleansing them.
Right. The child.
And Your Holiness, that is also why I'm very much passionate about education, especially for children who have been abandoned or in correctional homes. There are a lot of children in orphanage homes or in correctional homes, and sometimes I get to interact with these kids and I find them to be very normal, but society has abandoned them. And that is what our program at One African Child is trying to do by giving them a belonging. And you find lots of international organizations coming to give donations. I feel like donations will not be enough. It's not enough to give them clothes or food. They need quality time. They need people to show them love and compassion. And, that is a lot of, part of the lessons that we got last year from participating in this exchange program. And what our organization does is that we spend time with these kids, and then we get them to express themselves, we get them to share their feelings with us, and we also try to make them happy. So we believe that we can also change the narrative by doing this.
Your Holiness, I know we're getting ready for lunch. If I could just briefly thank you, if I could thank your team who put this program together, including Mr. Tempat Sering and Mr. Dongchong Nyogdup, who helped us get our visas. Very important, very difficult. Don Chojar and the team who have been working on all of the sound and AV. Jigme, who's been doing security, and your incredible team in your office, Chimi, Tenzin, and Tsetin. We couldn't have done this without them. Thank you to them. Thank you to our USIP team who's been running around as well. And on behalf of the 28 youth leaders who came last year and the 25 who are here with us now, who will all be working in their communities to ripple out, to touch so many more lives, we thank you for the time and the wisdom and the opportunity to have this conversation with you. Many, many thanks.
I think I already mentioned when I used to think about problem which humanity facing, and I really feel helpless, one individual. But then I think, because rethink the movement, public level, first start from one individual. So now you each should think a part of your community. So you should take initiative. Then gradually more and more people join. Then effect come. So think that. Thank you. Now,
So first we will have lunch.